Doodly doo ba ba, doodly doo boo, doodly doo boo, skidly ba ba ba, doo doo doo, doo doo doodly doo. You know, did we ever get tired of that tune?
I mean, if I heard the same one twice, I might know if I would get tired of it. But
Well, I don't know. Hey everybody, how you doing? It is Curt and Gaeton, and we're back. It's been it's been a while since I guess we did this in June? No, May?
yeah, it was late spring, early summer. Yeah, we did our special feature for Boom Patrol. And
Boom
that's the
Patrol.
last time I
That's
think
right.
we were on. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been a long time, and as you guys remember, I used to do this pretty regularly, like once a month, and kicking off today, that is our stated goal.
Yeah.
Gaten have kind of made a promise, like let's actually focus down and try to make some time to do this, because obviously it's kind of fun for us, and we hope
Mhm.
it's kind of fun for you as well. And man, pretty much, I think we're going to really kind of talk a bit about what's been kind of going on since we were last together. And between here and there was summer con season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, which is a whole animal to talk about. But before we get there, while people are starting to kind of funnel in, and when you do stop by, just give us a shout on the comments to let us know you're here. But uh, let's talk a little bit about the games we've been playing. And audience out there, you can also chime in with games you've been playing. I'll kick things off. I played a number of this one just recently. I was down in Georgia and met up with John, and we played a bunch of Sky Team.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I had previously only played Sky Team, I think once, and only on the basic level. And that it was a great experience. I had a lot of fun, but there was a lot more to explore. So we actually took the opportunity and did just that. So I think we tried the Atlanta airport, since we were local. we tried the Atlanta airport a couple times, and crashed the first two times, because I don't know if you played like some of the deeper content on this yet.
I have not. No.
Okay, so they try to mimic some of the airports by doing things like, oh, you've got to bank and then bank again before you land, because of
The
different things that,
topography. Yeah.
right, exactly. And what's really fascinating is they must have really worked with someone who knows these airports and flying, because they actually represent a lot of the true flying conditions at these airports, which, I mean, it's super easy to do this game and just kind of do it a little bit of lip service and, fantasy flight. But the fact that they actually, have some real situations in here, even though it's abstracted, I think that's just amazingly cool.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, so yeah, played a bunch of that and had a good time. Finally, I think we played 4 games. We won after the base game. Once we got in the advance, one out of the 3 that we played, we actually landed the plane, and then we're like, okay, we're done for now. So what have you been playing?
We had a few people over to my place about like a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago maybe. And I had grabbed it all the way back at Origin, so early summer, but we finally opened up Sushi Boat to play.
Oh, okay.
And I know my family really wanted to play, and it seemed like a bit like more approachable, and it was cute and aesthetic, and it was. The game's really easy to understand, which is fantastic. There's like no rules trip ups whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it's a really good, concise rule book. The gameplay was fun. It's like a little bit of like, have you ever played it yourself?
No, I've seen it played, but I have not played it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like a memory aspect because like you have to remember what dishes you've eaten because you stack your plates up, but once they're stacked up, you can't look at it to see what was on it.
Mm,
So there's a little bit of memory you have to make sure you score the most points at the end.
okay.
And the whole board is like fantastic to use. It's the discs slide across it perfectly. It's like this nice wooden
Mm.
board. The presentation's just fantastic. So we had a great time. I got last both times, but I had a blast. So
Cool. Yeah.
so that's I think the most recent thing we've played over this way.
Okay. Well, I think we even talked about this one last time. I actually took, believe it or not, I took this bad boy to Italy with me because I went on a trip with my family, and it was only my brother-in-law who actually got it to the table because everyone else was like, we don't want to learn games. Bleh. So, wow. But played Harmonies again, and really, I still enjoy this. I think it's just a tight little fun game, and it's beautiful.
I definitely
But
need to put it in my library.
yeah, but I tell you what, here's what I got while I was down in Atlanta. Cannot wait to get it to the table.
Ooh, Catacombs.
Yeah, so this is
Players
an
of Lost
expansion
Chambers.
on Catacombs that I'm dying to try because it's got like new cards, new stuff, new monsters
Yeah.
to meet.
I haven't played Catacombs yet. I've been
Oh,
wanting to.
okay. Well, you know what? Hey, you know what? We work together. We could actually sit down and play a game that isn't ours
You
just for kicks.
yeah. There's we spend enough time playing ours. It's nice to play some other people's games.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, well, we did do some research this week. Last
We
week?
did.
Last week.
Yeah. Yes, it was I think last Thursday or so.
Yeah, we were trying to find bag builders, like just to
Mhm.
like freshen up on different things people have done, and we started with Quarriors
Yes, Quarriors.
way back.
Yeah, was it? I think it was like
WizKids.
2002 or 2003.
I don't remember, but
an older
it's a while
title.
back. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, that dragon,
Yeah,
the quaking dragon, man. It's just, if
I
you have
wasn't
one out,
happy with
just
it. Kind of killed the momentum of the game. But anyway, unless we were playing wrong, that's always a possibility too.
entirely possible.
Yeah. Cool. So we'll try to think if there's anything else we want to touch on before we actually get into stuff. Oh wait, but well, actually, I've got one other thing. This is entertainment based. Have you seen The Penguin yet?
Are we talking about like the
Viewers, have
viral
you seen The Penguin yet?
the viral penguin at the zoo? Or are you talking about the movie?
No. I'm talking about the new series that's on
Oh, the
HBO.
show. So, okay, when you say have you seen the penguin, there is a world record breaking massive baby penguin at a zoo
Oh,
that people on the
really?
internet are all talking. Yeah, hold on. Its name is Pesto, and it's a
Oh,
baby penguin, and it's bigger than its parents already.
really?
Yeah, it's all over like Instagram and
His
TikTok
name
and
is
stuff.
Pesto.
Pesto, yeah. And it like blew up online about a month ago. So when you're like, "Did you see the penguin?" I was like, "Are you talking about the big baby penguin?"
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
I've not seen the series. No.
I will check that out. Now, it sounds like Alex. Hey there, Alex. How you doing? We got him and Totala out there. Um, they apparently have not heard about my penguin, but Alex has heard about your penguin. So I'm going to be I'm going to be checking out the ginormous
It's
baby penguin.
baffling. It's so big.
All right, but if you get a chance, the Penguin on HBO, it's just started up, and like it
Mhm.
basically, you remember the last Batman film with the Riddler?
Yeah.
Okay, it basically picks up right with that, and the cast is this exact same as in the movie.
Okay.
So Penguin's paid by the same guy. I'm blanking on names. I'm terrible with actors. Colin, and then like all the different parts are largely played by the same people, and it is one of the best things that has been created in the DC universe.
Yeah.
Like I am. It is pretty. It's like well written, well acted. It's a I mean, Batman's not in it, at least not yet, but it's just like the mob machinations and how the Penguin is trying to come into power, and
Hmm.
it's so well done and so human. Like you see all kinds of sides of the characters that make them both like dark and disturbing because that's what Batman's about, and it's also like there's a little humor, there's a lot of drama. I don't know, it's super well done. So
Hmm.
yeah,
I'll have to
anyway,
keep my eye out for that.
yeah, thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah.
All right, well, um without further ado, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call up my little screen because we do want to talk about summer con season.
Mm.
Because when last we talked, we were just about going to Origins, which was a great show for us, and pretty successful. We'd launched officially Adventure Party there,
Hmm.
and did we have This Game Is Killer at that time?
That was the
We
Swamp
did.
Show. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Which kind of kicked off the story about This Game Is Killer when we get there, because um, everything that we had wanted from that game. And I remember when we talked originally about Ivan's game, we were like, you know what? We really need like a $15 game that's kind of light, easy to get into, a little party style atmosphere without being a full party game. And but like have it be like so compelling what's in the box that at $15 people are just like naturally gimme.
Hmm.
And man, did we see that happen.
For sure.
Yeah. um and of course that kind of continued right into to Gen Con. Like we blinked and I think we were at Gen Con.
Yeah, there was about 1 month of time between Origins return and Gen Con. So we
Yeah.
had like about 4 weeks to reset and get ready.
Yeah. Well, and when we did, for people who were not able to be at Gen Con, I know not everyone makes it out to it to that show, but it's certainly our biggest show of the year. And this time, instead of coming in with our regular 20 by 20 booth, which had been a pretty big booth for a long time, Gen Con said, "Hey, we've had a drop, and you're up next. And do you want a bigger space?" Now they had said no to us like 8 months, before, but we were next on the list, and we are like, "Yeah." So we got a 20 by 40 island,
Hmm.
and what a difference! We had to rethink everything about the layout of our booth. These photos don't even do it justice. It allowed us to do some fun displays.
Hmm.
So I think that's what largely in July, this is what we were doing. We were thinking up what this booth was going to be like
Hmm.
and arm wrestling about it in some cases. Because I think, we had some different ideas about what we should do when we got there.
I think you and I, for the most part, were on the same page.
Sure.
Um, I think
Also, we
a
arm
few,
wrestle on everything.
yeah, I think a few of the instigators were less inclined to follow the vision we brought with us to the event. But
Well,
then again,
no,
they're the experts, so like, we trust
I
them.
think, but I think people were kind of on board, pretty quickly. It's just like even when you and I were originally talking, like I was the sticking point because, you know,
Well, I remember the big sticking point for you when we started was we used to have the backdrops elevated on those racks. And like
oh,
we'd always have a back wall to work with, and we'd always
sure.
have like, and then we had to like, I mean, we solved this pretty early on, but in order to change that, we had to like do all new graphics and
Yeah.
change the way we displayed all the products, so it was entirely fresh.
Well, we built an entire room
We
instead
did.
of a single wall.
It was a closet that could fit boxes and one John,
Well, yes.
and that's what we built.
um, and it was a 10 by 10 room, and like the
Yeah.
luxury of having that to store all, like we it was the most product we ever brought to a show. I think, was it 6 or 7 pallets?
7 pallets.
7 pallets. Incredible. And as you can see here, most of it, we put as much as we could on the floor. So we had almost every single unit of Hi-Fi, almost every single unit of Boop the Halls out. The plushes were all new. And I absolutely love, this was an idea we had pretty early in the process to actually do a little holiday display and have a Christmas tree. And you can't tell what this is, but that red skirted area, it's a kiddie pool, which took us forever to find, because
in July you'd think you could find a kiddie pool.
Sure, easy peasy. No, you would have to get them in May before all the moms get them. So
which blew my mind.
Yeah.
I think we finally found it at a Tractor Supply Company.
That is correct.
Where we got and they had like 3 left.
Yeah. But one of them was ours, and it became a beautiful place to store all the plushes and some of the hats and all the other things that we had. And then I think you had the cool idea to actually wrap the presents and put them underneath the
using some empty boxes from the cases. Yeah,
that was pretty cool.
I thought it looked great. Between that and like obviously like in the left photo you can see it really clearly, like the beautiful like display tower that Greg made for the Boop the Halls looked fantastic.
That. Yeah, it was. I think just because we had the space, he just was able to go crazy. Now, of course, sadly, that thing disappeared in a matter of hours because all right, so.
We should talk about the door open experience. Yeah.
Up until last year, we had never had a run on our booth at door opening. Last year was the first time we did, because we had both Boop at Gen Con for the first time, and we had the Spooky Boop version. And we saw the wave coming. Well, by the way, that's pretty intimidating. to see the rush of people heading your way. But this year we started getting notifications from Gen Con. Like,
that's more scary to me personally.
2 weeks before, people on the Facebook page for Gen Con were starting to talk about what door to enter to get to our booth first. And they started catching wind of this, and they're like, okay, you're going to have a traffic control problem. We need a plan. You have to show it to us. You got to walk us through it. And like, we had to talk to, I think, 3 different people at the show to walk them through it. But it turned out we had it down so well that we didn't even have like the whole backup plan that we had. We were able to contain most of it.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Timothy, how you doing? Timmy's asking, Timothy, will you be at PAX Unplugged this year? We absolutely will. Yes, and we're going to have a lot of the same products that you're going to be seeing as we talk through stuff today. We should still have plenty of stock of, because we put them on hold, regardless of whether Boop the Halls sells out immediately when it hits, right around now. We put some aside specifically for that show. So, so long as you join us on the first day, we should have plenty of stock of everything. So,
what were we at? Speaking of rushing and handling the crowd control, it was like almost 4 transactions a minute or something.
That's correct.
Like that.
Yeah, we tracked
every
it
15 seconds or something.
On the square, you can actually look at the transaction. Now, we had 2 little, boopers, the transaction things, and we had, people like telling people, hey, have your payment ready, have the stuff you need, so we were able. It was 4 transactions every minute.
So 2 per register. Minute.
And just and it was for 3 hours. That's all we did. There were no demos. There was no nothing. It was just ringing sales for 3 hours straight. It blew my mind.
Yeah, we didn't host demos for the first 3 hours of the first day.
That's right.
Because the entire booth was a snaked through line of people waiting to grab the games.
Yeah. Yep. Which
Unreal.
I mean, thrilling. Thrilling to us. We made the year before was our most record-shattering Gen Con ever in the history of the company, and this year in 2 days we had already crested
met it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been an exciting 3 years for this little company that's getting less little. I don't know.
I'm here.
Yeah, that's true. So there's 2 of us now. Well, of course, it's more than that, and everyone who comes to the shows to see us knows that we have a huge, wonderful family and team to help us out, especially at the shows. And you know, some of those folks like come everywhere. I mean, John is like at most of the shows at this point. Crazy. So, but in any case, yeah, it was thrilling. It was exciting. We tried a whole new way to kind of demo games this year, which I think was pretty successful.
You're talking about the thing we started back at last PAX, like this year's new approach to it?
Yeah, you know, certainly. And I think this is where I was talking, like, you know, I was kind of the early pushback on this, because, you know, I've always believed when you come to our booth, you know, it's about an experience. It's about like interacting with us and playing games, and it's entertainment. I want to create entertainment in the booth. It's not just a sales floor. So that's what I believe. That's what I wanted to continue to do. But we started to realize that even if we had sit-down demos, there are so many people who wanted to play, we couldn't even service those people or have the conversations.
Yep. Dance cards are literally already full. Like,
yeah, I mean, particularly when we had longer games, you know, Tesseract, Hi-Fi, things of that sort, where, you know, the game itself is an hour, and you really can't demo an hour-long game with what, 6 to 8 hours on floor time. So,
and the shame is that those games are the ones that almost always garner the most interest for people saying, I want to play this.
Right.
So we're left in this weird feedback loop of, you know, people are demanding the demos, but even if we had them running, those same people might never be able to sit down because of how crowded they are.
Yeah. Well, so weirdly, because we didn't know we were going to have this gigantic space, we had already like decided to work with Envoy and really expand by like 4 to 5 times the amount of demo tables and events that we were running for all of our games. And so we had those running constantly. So if you wanted to go and play the game, if they still had slots open even during Gen Con, although a lot of them sold out.
The slots that were open were the 8 a.m.s. I remember checking. They were the ones that if you felt like being an early riser, you could get in. But
but then what we did was, you know, anything you could play quickly. So Boop, this game is killer. You know, we did like full demos of those because, you know, 10 minutes in and out, go nuts.
Adventure Party, we do an adventure.
Well, you know. Right. And with Adventure Party, it's so important because I feel like that's the only way to understand what Adventure Party is.
It's true. It really is. It's on paper doesn't really do it justice. Yeah. Even word of mouth doesn't like quite deliver that same experience of when you're sitting down and having a fun playing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but I mean, I think this combination of both. So what we ended up doing was we overviewed. We talked with a lot more people about the games because our demo was broadly, here's what it's about, here's how it plays, without actually like getting in and playing, and then letting them go and discover it in the board game library and in the event hall. And I think we were able to connect with a lot more people, do a lot more demos, and I mean, quite honestly, probably move more games. But
it's a departure. It's a departure from the old tradition.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of friction there, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, I still remember when the Instigator team actually pulled me off the demo tables. Like, they said, no, Curt, no more demos for you. Go take a business meeting. Go do something. I love doing demos. I love hanging with people and playing the games and showcasing it. So
But you got a cool position at Gen Con this year. I like I think
That's
that's a
true.
good fit for you. What the new
Right.
thing we've been doing at these conventions, which you can talk about, but
Yeah.
I think that that's a good place for your energy.
Yeah. And so what we ended up doing was we did a preview table.
Hmm.
I set up a table and I put all the prototypes of stuff we're working on. And by and large, I did that to kind of engage the media.
Hmm.
But of course, it was out in the open. It wasn't like a closed door.
Oh
So
yeah.
fans just came in, said, "What is this?" And
Yep.
so I did my whole song and dance, and showcase the all the new stuff. So
Well, I remember when
uh,
Hi-Fi was on that preview table at Origins. That was
yeah,
like a big focal point. People
yeah,
needed to know what was going on with that table presence. So,
yeah, exactly.
and
Um,
I'd like to think the stuff at Gen Con got pretty good traction too.
yeah, I think so too. And we showed well, actually, what we've got, like, even some stuff that we can kind of start showing, because again, not everyone was at Gen Con or maybe hasn't seen everything.
It's almost
I
like
think
this was a clever segue. What I
I
was going to
know,
send
but
you.
listen, but you know what? Here's the thing. I'm pretty sure most people watching have now heard about Adventure Party
That's
at the
true.
very least. Um, but what I will say is, yeah, at Gen Con, the ability to actually sit down and play, that was just that's where the rubber hits the road, and people are like, "Oh my god, this game!" And we have been getting a lot of reports from store owners who are like, "Oh, I now like people who are interested in playing D&D, but they're a little intimidated by the books. Like, this is the go-to product. Sure, it's a lark for people who already know D&D, and they can put their own characters in and have a blast as they roll ones and describe how terrible their plans went or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but it's being used a lot to kind of like get people's feet wet on role playing.
Oh, for sure.
And the Badana group, um they specialize in the intersection between gaming and therapy, and they have several therapists coming back with stories about how they're using it in therapy sessions and educational settings, where it's just getting young people talking and engaging and creating adventures. And so um it's been very gratifying, and I really hope this continues to grow and get more notoriety. I absolutely love this game. And of
Hmm.
course, I still have my memory of you at Gamma.
Oh no, that wasn't. Are you talking about the open house?
Oh, was that the open house?
Yeah, that was my very first work trip.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah,
And
I have some memories of my first time playing this game,
yeah,
and my
but I
throat
mean,
went.
your character became an icon in every single person. Like, at that table,
Oh
they
yeah,
remember your portrayal of the barbarian.
yeah,
So I
Skorg. Yeah,
Skorg, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Man, I mean, and then I have that wonderful customized character screen, so whenever I play with my friends, I still get to be Skorg, and it's a
That's
great
right.
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I surprised Gaeton. We did the custom screens for the backers, and so I immortalized Skorg for him.
And my favorite rock too.
Yeah.
I gotta play this
Oh
game again
man.
soon. Oh
Yeah.
man,
All right. So this, like, if you
I'm
have not seen
so
this
proud
game,
of this game. Oh,
yeah. I think the pride from this one really, obviously Ivan gave us a really great game,
for
but
sure. The
I
hook from our play group, like our testing group, was immediate. They
yeah,
wanted to play more.
yeah. And I think what we were able to do was to infuse some table presence and some, like, I don't I think from taking it from prototype game to finished product,
Hmm.
there was a transition that it got a lot more bang for the buck. Like, here, like, this right here, this is the play mat, and it's neoprene
Yeah.
instead of actually being a cardboard piece in there, and it's just rolled inside this tiny little box. And people, when they see it on the table, they're like, wait a second, the game comes with the neoprene in the box. It's like, yeah, and it's $15, and we're
Yeah.
like, yeah.
The
And they're
joke at Gen Con was neoprene for 15, and
yeah.
that was the running
Yeah.
gag.
But it's a delight to play. Like, seriously, if I think we're kind of calling this, and we are, by the way, thinking of this as a line, and that's why it's called This Game is Killer. Alien on board, because we expect there's going to be more in this line. But the fact that it delivers like a big movie feel, big horror movie feel, but does so in a very, very light game.
Oh yeah.
Almost like Love Letter, and that was Ivan's original intent, was to make a different, more interesting, more fun, kind of love letter.
Oh yeah.
Well, he did that, and
sure.
I think what we ended up doing on top of that was to create a lot of value in the box that has just
you can't
really
pass it up.
propelled it.
It's got to go in the library.
So not only did we sell out at Origins, we sold out at Gen Con, and we basically sold out the entire run. Retailers have also, we saw retailers ordering 60 copies at a time, some of them.
So it's crazy too. I'm proud of this for two reasons. This is probably my favorite release of the year, which is like, that's saying.
And we had a lot of good releases, by the way.
Say that's saying a lot with the catalog we had. But I love it for two reasons. One, it's a personal love of mine because it was the first project I ever worked on with the company from start to finish.
Yeah.
Like, I was there when we signed the contract and took on the prototype, there when it released. So that's fun for me. But I think I love it because we've taken a departure in the last few years from kind of the old school stab your friend in the back all the time.
You're right.
Gameplay style. We've got a lot more cooperative experiences now.
It's been a long time since I've been doing backstabbing.
But the thing that I loved about this game, and it's how I always describe it is as cooperative or as conniving as you want it to be. And that's an amazing thing to get out of a game, where it's entirely up to the players how they want to play the game with each other. You have full control over whether or not you want to blow the alien out of the airlock or your buddy. Like, I think that that's a marvelous thing to have in a party style experience where, you don't have to cooperate, but you can if you're like, you want to be the good guy. I love it.
Yeah.
So favorite release of the year.
Alex says he wasn't able to get a copy, but was really glad it's been doing so well. However, guess what? You can still order on our website, and I know there are retailers out there who still have it. So even though like we're out, we can't send much more to retailers, but we have some personal stash for our own needs. And like I said, some retailers order deep, and you will find them in their stores as well. So, we've been actually after we saw the success, we definitely, driving home, we started brainstorming, and so we actually think, I'm not gonna tip the whole thing right now, but I will tell you that we have another big horror blockbuster lined up, and it's a blast. It's I think a great spiritual successor, and should shake things up a little bit.
It's been great. It really brings home the fun that this already brought, and I can't wait until we're a bit more ready to let that loose.
Timothy says that he's got it and loves it. I'm glad. I hope everyone else will grab a copy and experience it as well. By the way, it plays 3 to 10 players, so it's like, it feels super party, even though it's, not your traditional party game.
But the fact that you can play at 3 means that you don't have to wait till you have the massive group together, which is kind of nice too. It's so fun at 8 to 10 though.
Exactly.
It's so good.
Not to, but all right. So now Alex had also said that he's like, boy, that hi-fi preview was pretty sweet. Well, thank you, because I know a lot of that was personal performance as well as the table presence. So, because I put my whole documentary voice on in order to introduce that game to people, and I had a blast doing it. But yes, so this game, man, just look at it. This is from Grok Games down in Brazil, and we worked with them to bring it to the U.S. and did a little bit of heavy lifting to it was a very, very rules dense game to learn up at the outset, and we said, hey, we'd love to have some training wheels. We'd love to have kind of some on ramping of all the details and information. And
is that how the conversation went?
Yes,
I feel like you and I did a considerable amount of research and development, and then we were like, oh, we should probably make sure they're okay with that.
Oh, well, I mean, I knew we were going to have that conversation. It's just that we did all the work up front before we had
we did it backwards.
Yeah.
I love that story though.
But yeah, and thankfully they were delighted that we spent so much time with it and gave it some thought, and they hadn't released it themselves yet. So
very happy to work together. It was great.
Yeah, we really partnered nicely on it. And everyone who sees this game, from the sleeve cover to the box itself that has the kind of the vinyl rondelle of how your action selector, the studio, and all the knobs, like, you look at this thing and you're just like, oh my god, this is like, it's their attention to detail in the graphic design, in the concept. The rule book itself looks like the cover of Rolling Stone. It's amazing. Just attention to detail is just beautiful, and that's what I absolutely fell in love with.
Yeah.
And that's why I think I struggled so hard to try to make it work for us in our market. We wanted to be able to bring it to more casual gamers, and
it wasn't struggling to be unique.
Yeah,
it came out the gate already impressive.
Yeah,
but
that's what people have people, fans, retailers, everyone who walked up and got a look at, they're like, what is this? They were just drawn in by the table presence, and it didn't stop there.
And then you wrap up the amazing table presence and the phenomenal narrative, honestly, that the game provides, and then it lands at a nice cozy price point too.
Yes, right.
It had all the checked boxes.
Yeah, and this was another game just like Killer. Retailers, fans, they were just like, $40 for this? How? Retailers were like, how did you do it?
Yeah.
No, seriously, how did you do it?
People were so prepared for like a $50-$60 game based on the presentation. Yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes you can just find ways that just it adds perceived value without adding a lot of hard cost.
Yeah.
And you can end up with something that feels amazing on the table, but doesn't have to break the bank. And finding out what some of those things are, even when we did Boop, Scott's original vision for Boop, the bed was it was a chessboard with the pawns as the bedposts and crinoline skirt. I wanted to have a bed like that for the game, but I knew I couldn't produce an actual bed. Sometimes you just have to come up with something inventive, the quilted game board on the back of the box. It preserves the charm, the appeal, all of that, but you don't have to spend an arm and a leg for it. So that's what we do when we do development. So
I would rather bring the game to people at a better price point anyway.
Yeah. And I'm sure they appreciate it as well.
I could hope.
So yeah. So let's see.
Got some other fun stuff in your little deck.
I do.
There.
Well, so we talked about Boop the Halls a little bit as well.
Sure.
All right. Again, I don't know how many people have seen this out in the marketplace yet or heard about it. It's, I think, just kind of getting out there. Boop the Halls. We've had such incredible success with Boop that it has spawned a whole family of products. Started last year with the Spooky Boop, And we were like, well, I didn't want to do a Christmas version. Alex says he just got his copy. Cool. I didn't want to do a Christmas version. I was like, no. Let's not get into holidays, because like once the holiday's over, those games, like retailers got nothing to do with them. Like, so I didn't want to get down into that well. But Scott finally said, okay, but listen, it'll be about cats jumping into a Christmas tree and knocking ornaments off. And I'm like, oh no, that has to happen. That was brilliant. And then, of course, the challenge was that we had lots of competing visions for what this game would be.
And talk about how inconvenient it was having the three of us not always in the same room at the same time and working on it concurrently. It was tough.
That was tough. And with just different testing groups. So we would have different results with different. And so, something that worked for us, Scott would try it with his group. He's like, it doesn't work at all. He'd send us up something. It's like, it doesn't work with our group at all.
Yeah.
He finally, it was like last November, came out to Metatopia, and we sat down at a table and we just figured it out together. And right at that point, like all the magic just gelled, and we knew exactly what it needed to be. And then I had to come back because you couldn't make it, and I was like, okay, correct. So here's what we decided, and here's why you're gonna love it.
Yeah, I think I sent you with like not a wish list, but like here are like my final bullet points.
Yeah,
take those with you, make sure they're communicated, and then I'll trust whatever you and Scott come up with this weekend is the best thing possible. Yeah.
Well,
and it ended up amazing, though.
Yeah, and Leah Furman helped us out with some of the illustration. I've been doing the cat illustrations since we started. I'm not an illustrator, but I can cartoon a little bit, and so all the cat meeples and all that's me. But I wanted it to like look pretty tight, so I had her add a lot of the glitz and glamour to the thing, and help me figure out what the tree was going to look like. And she did a great job, kind of bringing what I had been working on, and just kind of using that as kind of a lattice work to build around. And so she did a great job with that.
Oh yeah.
But what I love about this game, again, if you have not played it, this levels up gameplay. And not just because it's a dimensional board, like this is a more challenging game by a good portion.
If you recall, when we were testing and developing these rules, we had hit a point where you pulled the box out to test more, and I remember audibly groaning, and not because I didn't think the game was good, but I was mentally fried from having played like 30 rounds of this game over the last 2 days.
Yeah. Because the great thing about this is it adds a whole new way to win or lose the game. The ornaments, it was always going to be about cats jumping in a tree and knocking ornaments out, but how that came to life, that's where we had all the debates. But the beautiful part is, like, yeah, if you can knock 3 of your opponent's ornaments out of the tree, cool. That's another way to win. So now I've got to spend some of my time defending against that while I'm still trying to line up all my little kitties. And that duality, having to split your attention, that's exactly. Yeah, go ahead.
It ramps it from a checkers-like experience to a chess-like one pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Having to follow multiple lines of strategy and make sure your opponent doesn't sneakily get something set up while you're too distracted.
Yeah.
You have to look at the board so much more. Let's not even talk about the fact that the tiers and the elevation of the board make it so much harder to find and notice things sometimes.
It shouldn't. Like,
it wasn't intended to do that.
The height of the board should not change anything, except your brain doesn't know that, and it looks at it like like I don't like. Can you see the little white cat in the front here? Can you see my little cursor here?
Yeah.
From here to there to there.
That's a set of 3.
Sometimes it's hard to see that is still a line of 3. You're like, well, oh, if you look down, I get it. So anyway.
I will say there's a distinct advantage to having played this one before your opponent, because everyone falls for that one time.
Yeah. Well, I always tell my opponent. I warn them.
Oh, okay. You're just a better sport than me. I just need the wins.
And then the other thing too, and I forget whether it was Scott or I forget who actually came up with the idea of the adult cats being able to pounce on the ornaments and capture them.
I believe that was Scott.
Yeah, and that added another whole new wrinkle to worry about, because once you start populating the board with cats, things get a lot more dangerous out there for your ornaments. So it's a brilliant little design. I love it.
And the fact that they behave so uniquely too. Like the ornaments don't behave exactly like kittens or cats, but they do take up space. So it's kind of like learning how a third piece works.
Right. And then, of course, we're the kind of people who are like, let's not just leave well enough alone. While we were doing that, we were also we had a copy of Spooky Boop on the table when we were doing all this.
That's right, we did.
And so we were looking at the ghosts, and we're like, well, you know what ghosts happen during Christmas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the ghost of Boopmas, the Jacob Meowly.
Yeah, I had the Boopmas name, and then you had Jacob Meowly and Little Dickens, and I was like, wow, this is all
a Little Dickens
poetic
expansion. Yeah. So so we figured, all right, how can we have the fun of the added ghosts in this Christmas edition? And this is like it's a little expansion. There's not much to it. It's basically the pieces and a card to remind you like where to keep them and what they do, which is essentially this. Like, so the Jacob Meowly does kind of what the Ghost and Spooky Boop does. When you place on the board, it will catapult a cat over top of any pieces in front of it to get it to the next open space.
Yeah, because I think the ghosts only move it one jump. From
no, they'll take it. They'll take it as far as it goes, but they travel between the seams. There are no seams on the tree, so it takes up a space like a regular piece. But then the ghost of what do we say?
Which one are we doing? Are we doing the little guy?
The little guy. What's his
name?
It's
the ghost of Christmas. Psst, psst, psst.
That's right. Instead of past, the ghost of Boopmas. Psst, psst. So these two pieces, because like you have to be so concerned about the angles on the tree, because with the different edges, like you can get knocked off pretty quick. We wanted pieces that you could actually target better. So these, instead of being like 360, it boops everywhere. This is like, the guy, he just goes on the diagonal and boops diagonally. Anything orthogonal, like it doesn't budge. Whereas the Boopmas to come,
Boopmas yet to pounce.
Yeah, that is the other thing. He doesn't touch anything on the diagonals. It just gives you just a little bit more, and you get control. Like when you are not in the lead, like if someone graduates, you get control of all the ghosts, and it keeps on going back and forth, which is, I think, kind of neat too. It's just another little wrinkle, but I mean, it also gave us an excuse to make more ghosty cats, which was kind of fun.
Well, I mean, people are dying, Curt. They just want to see the kittens and cats you make in all manner of shape and form and costume.
It's true.
So you got to give them a little top hat. Everyone's happy.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. I'm gonna like start cruising into some other stuff, because we wanted to show a couple things that were going to be kind of sneak previews as well. Well, all right, I lied. We're not going there yet. We're just like this, by the way, again, if you did not get out to Gen Con, these were some of the special trinkets we had. We had a Boop knit hat. We had a Boop plush. It really has turned into an entire line.
It's like IP.
Yeah, exactly right. And again, these were flying out of our booth as well. These, by the way, the hat is not available in actual retail. We couldn't get a price point that would work for that. But the plush cats are going to be at retail, and you can find everything on our website too. So, and by the way, super great Christmas gifts.
For the record, the hat, I have a group of nerdy friends, and I have hundreds of these hats in my office.
Yeah.
Turns out. I opened one or two of them up. Apparently, they're the comfiest hats that anybody owns.
Right. My
they're
daughter
so
Devin said the
soft.
same thing.
Yeah. Like, so not only are they adorable with the ears, but they're actually incredibly comfortable.
Yeah.
So like, I'm very happy about that item.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. All right, so Shrieking Hollow. It is spooky season, and I am happy mostly to report that like we have been working very, very hard trying to get these games in, and we have had so many hiccups, but by and large, most backers have got them. We're still waiting for the EU and UK to actually get the games to the warehouse.
It's been a slog.
We just heard that there was going to be another. It doesn't matter. Point is, they are here by and large for Halloween, and people who have tried them tried it out. Like this big monster, the other, it is terrifying to see this thing on the board, and it adds a lot of dimension to the game. And I think one of my favorite things is actually the event cards that come with this and the hard choices.
I love the events.
Yeah, because now it's like, oh, you discover something in the darkness. What is it? And you read this card, and either you can just leave it alone and go away about your business, or you can choose to make this sacrifice to get this benefit.
And they're intentionally very enticing.
Yeah.
Like they
punishing.
They challenge. Yes, they challenge like your sanity in their own way of being like, well, look how bad this downside is, but the upside is
right. We could actually use that right now. And so I think what it does really great is it gets people talking. It like that cooperative aspect, strategizing. Like there's more of that happening in the game with those events in there.
Can I talk about my I know there's a bunch of events. My favorite one on the list. Yeah, I don't know if it's too much like telling them one of the events already.
No, go ahead.
But my favorite event is the one where you can choose to be able to carry 2 keys.
Yes.
But you have to drop your candle and go lights out.
Yeah.
I love that gameplay because now you're an incredibly valuable member of the team and you cannot help yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good trade.
Yeah. It's really like a lot of those things are been built into there. You struggle to like, what are we going to do with it? Or sometimes it's just like, oh no, not right now. We do not have, we cannot make that sacrifice.
A quick check of the board says that one's not going to fly.
Yeah. Alex is out there saying, yeah, the events add so much to the game. I'm glad you agree. And this is the time to bust it out. Certainly many people have used the soundtrack and, play in like low light, little flicking candles. I've got the LEDs still here at the house. And that's my preferred way, or we'll bust out actual candles, like, for perimeter as well. But I am very glad that we're almost done fulfilling this game, because there are some games that just feel cursed in some ways, and man, this has been a labor, and it's for like not lack of trying to do things right. It just like everything goes wrong. I mean,
you're telling me my email is the support email. I know just how many things have gone wacky.
Yeah. But
we've worked so hard.
Yeah, and it's finally all coming to a resolution, and I'm very glad about that, and I hope we never see these kinds of issues again. We've certainly taken some steps to make sure of it. But man, you just never know. It's one of the tough things about Kickstarter is that the backers get to see all the thorny sides about running a business and how painful it can be. And this is not just board gaming. This is any business you run. Anytime you're creating a product, so many things can happen between, where you start and where it has to go. And most times no one notices. It's just the game comes out. You're like, oh, the game's out. But you get to see all the nasty underbelly of what it's like and what any kind of manufacturer has to go through just to get this stuff done. And man, anyway.
And I appreciate Alex saying, it was so worth it with the wait and what a trial. Yeah. I'm very glad to hear that, because I've put a lot of energy into a lot of things since Curt hired me, and this has probably been the thing I've put my most energy into to date.
I have lost so much sleep. Yeah. We're going to move on because but I am glad that it's in people's hands, that they're enjoying it. And I will tell you, this is not the end of the Night Cage, so far as I can tell. But I will tell you that the thing that I'm talking to the guys about is like not building new things to bolt onto the core game, but in this universe, what is the new experience? You turn your key, and where do you end up? Like, that's the kind of thinking that we're starting to have. And we've got some. There's nothing even to put it on the table right now. Although they may have like the first one on the table, but we have not fielded it yet. And but at least the core ideas are pretty darn strong. So I am excited for that. And Timothy says he hasn't played it. He's got it, but he hasn't got it to the table. Well, it is October, so this is the time. So bust it out. Oh, by the way, when you do, if you are having I will say that there's some nuances to the new rule book. Dized is an app. It's a tutorial app that comes with a lot of our games. You can learn our games even without the rulebook, because it's not like a video you have to watch. It's an interactive tutorial. It walks you through setup, through your first turns, through the first experiences with this monster and that. Like, you can actually have this app guide you through the experience. And I recommend that for anyone jumping into a game who just wants to open up the box and play. On top of that, it's got a rule book, a digital rule book. Let's say, I forget some of the rules about wax eaters. You type it in wax eater, it'll pull up every rule about wax eaters instantly. And that during the middle of play is just phenomenal. So if you have not tried Dized, it's free to go and do it. So, we paid to have the things made, so use them. It's great. Plus, I think in the base game Night Cage, that's another way you can access the soundtrack. So think about that too. All right, now Boom Patrol we were talking about during our last chat with everyone. So I'm not gonna go into a lot of detail on Boom Patrol, other than I can't wait till it is here. We are currently working on all the molds for the plastic bits. We're working on the proofs for all the print, the cardboard bits. And this is we're gonna get this on the boat before Chinese New Year, so that it should be on time for our late Q1, early Q2 release date. That's exciting. I'm still in love with the toyetic quality. I still make all the dumb noises every time I play. You
sure do, buddy.
So
you know what my favorite part about this project is? Still, the bottom right of your screen.
The bottom. Oh, the commentators.
I can't get over them.
Yeah. Well, so that was your brainchild, right?
True, but it was yours and mine. I posed an idea, then you and I spent about 3 hours riffing in a car ride about how they would talk and what it sounded like.
Yeah, right. We improved a lot of dialogue on how they would approach the game, and it took it really from it
Yeah,
took
go
it
ahead,
from
sorry.
what we considered it to be an arena sport
Mhm.
beforehand. But I think your comment was, well, it doesn't feel enough like a sport yet. It still feels like just tanks crushing stuff. Like, what makes it feel more like a sport? Like commentators, it's televised. It's like it's got a fan base. I'm like,
That's true.
oh my god, of course it does. In which
And
case, then all the tank captains are like wrestling stars.
they're celebrities,
They're
yeah.
celebrities. And all of a sudden we started creating backstories for all the combatants. And we've got uh Scully and Buck,
Yep.
they got their own personalities, and we just had a
It's
blast.
It was one of the funniest and most enjoyable brainstormy, developy moments that I've probably had so far.
Yeah.
Was just catapulting this game into it's a very unique space for itself,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that was great.
And it's fun. It feels, it's got the kind of like a retro video game feel to it,
Hmm.
but at the same time, it's I don't know. Anthony did an amazing job coming up with a way to simplify, which is simply like it's a tabletop miniatures game, but it's not, because miniatures games are very precise and very, like, this is like anyone can jump in and play this, and
Hmm.
miniature players can be like, I can finally share something with my family that they're going to play and enjoy with me, yay. And
Yeah, the
people
fudge
who are
factor encouraged on your movement.
exactly,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
don't sweat it. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I'm delighted. I can't wait till this hits the table, and I can start, going ting 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 boom and blowing up my friends. So, oh hey Scott, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Yeah, recap everything you missed. That's called YouTube, my friend.
Yeah.
You can hit play in an hour. But yes, we did talk about many boopages. So, and before we get too far, I do want to highlight two more projects. And it's getting late. Like, where we've been doing this for an hour, so hopefully people are still with us. But this is one of our new projects that we are just kind of starting to unveil right now. We've been showcasing it. We finally got the art done. This is a design by Alex Cutler and Michael Mihilsik, and it's a cozy game. Cozy games, very much, a hot topic in board gamer right now.
Mhm.
And this is about gathering, organizing, and admiring great books. Um, and it's got this very, very warm, almost introverted, Zen-like gameplay loop.
Exactly what people have come to know from Smirk and Dagger games. Yeah.
Well, but see, that's the beauty. Like,
I know.
ever since we like made this, pivot to be more about, like, all the range of emotions that we can deliver through gaming. Like, what a it threw over the gates, and we're having so much fun.
Imagine missing a project like this because you're too busy killing all your friends all the time.
I
It'd
know,
be a,
but
it'd be a crime.
so yeah, so more about this. This will be a Kickstarter coming up in January. We were going to try to get it done sooner. We just, with everything going on, we couldn't do it. So so it's set for January, and this game, um, you're a young adult. You've got your own apartment, and you absolutely love books. And so that blue area here, that represents your apartment, and these are the rooms in your apartment. And you'll start the game with these wooden book tiles populating various rooms, and they're stacked up. And, well, if you've got a collection of something, what do? You organize it. How am I going to organize it now? By color? Am I going to do it by title?
You can even
That,
read some of them.
sure. Yeah, if you want. But yeah, so you give yourself these little personal goals, organizational goals, and none of them are terribly hard to do. They just take a little effort, little time, and you find them very rewarding. And so not only will they give you, some victory points, but the core thing they give you is they make you feel refreshed and invigorated. That increases your social battery, which is the resource of this game.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get your social battery high enough, you can brave walking out into the world to the village so you can go get yourself some more books.
Oh, or some other neat stuff.
Or some other neat stuff. Yeah, like, for example, like this keychain, or there's a lava lamp, or there's other kind of cool stuff you can pick up.
Mhm.
All of which, those things, they give you like kind of game-changing abilities that you can use throughout the game, or as in-game scoring. But man, it's a really interesting cozy space game. I've had people when I talk to them about it, they're like, I feel seen.
Speaking of feeling seen, Dave in the chat said, "Sounds fun." And then when you said go outside, actually, it sounds terrifying. Go out?
Quite right, Dave. But yeah. So, and so this is funny as well. We just put the solo game together,
Mhm.
and we were like, well, what's the solo game going to be? And Michael came back and he's like, well, so here's is the vision. You guys are all basically kind of introverts. Well, you've never met her, but all of a sudden, like, the books of the library are getting checked out before you get there, and books you had on reserve at the bookstore, they're like gone when you arrive. Like, you end up with a rival who is this extrovert who never has to go recharge her battery, just constantly out in town doing all their stuff. And you feel the need to like up your game to try to like, compete.
Yeah, your
Sort
peaceful
of.
way of life is at risk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was a great kind of twist to gameplay, but it actually I've been playing it on the tabletop because we finally prototyped it all out. I find it really compelling, actually, because you kind of keep right on the edge. She is able to do so much so easily on her turn that you kind of have to. It gives you the impetus to like, I've got to push a little harder.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's scaling difficulty, you can do the easier version, or you can really challenge yourself. And you're like, oh, how am I going to get all my organization things done so I can get my energy up, so I can get to town and get, the various things. So, and man, I have been enjoying it. So I'm excited for people to see this one.
And not to mention the art to die for. Oh
yeah.
man.
Yeah. So the art was done by Naomi, and she has this beautiful style that I don't know. It's warm, it's engaging, it brings you in. I mean, a lot of the cozy games right now are very animal based, and we didn't really want to create like the next kind of animal based cozy game, but this creates such a cozy space with the human characters, and I've just really been like you said, enjoying the vibe of it, and the way all the characters kind of come to life as they do their various activities.
I say aw every time I get a new neat stuff card because like almost all of them are adorable.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's like little, like I almost feel like I picked it up myself, like in real life. Like I just it does a great job of really putting you like in a comfortable place while you play.
Yeah,
So.
and we'll as we get closer to launching, we're going to be doing some live streaming. You'll see the game in action. You'll hear us talk more about it. But we just wanted to kind of like put it on your radar and let you look at some of the stuff as we're developing it. So this has been fun, and right now we're close to the solo game being finished, but we've got a couple more tweaks and balancing.
Also, Scott, I see your point.
Oh,
Be
Scott.
patient.
Scott says, why isn't the keychain shown on that card a boop cat? Guess what, Scott? Boop does make an appearance in this game.
Yeah, but you'll have to wait and see. You ruined your own surprise.
All right. Let's see. So some other stuff. Oh, so there's one other thing I want to show.
Mm-hmm.
I promise. It's only one other thing. We have a game coming next year, probably for Gen Con. That I can't believe we are doing another abstract strategy game, but this is so unique and so amazing on the table. This is Enthroned, folks. Now, this is still all very, very early. A lot of the stuff that you're seeing right now is super prototypey. So I don't get crazy on how these figures look. But it's a 2-player game. Abstract strategy. It's called Enthroned by Sawyer West, and it's a deduction game.
Or is it a strategy game?
Well, it's both. But the point is, like, you are one of the 8 figures on that board, and I'm the other one. I'm another one. We don't know who's who, and you can move any piece you want. But the way you're going to win is you're either going to get your piece sneakily up to that center star. I'm going to figure out who you are, and I'm going to eliminate you by capturing you. Or our cards each have 3 little targets at the bottom of them. Like when we choose which role we're going to be, we get 3 of them. We're going to choose one. 3 little targets. And if I knock out the jester, the archer, and the paladin, or you help me do it, even though you don't know you're helping me do it, if those 3 pieces are gone, I can win that way too. And it is a fascinating game, and the magic of the game is controlled by the little action selector up here.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to move the assassin, you take the assassin token from its position on the board and you drop it down to the bottom and push everything else up. The bottom 3 pieces are locked. They can't be touched by anyone. The top 2 pieces are the only pieces that can actually capture something. Like, there's this fascinating interchange between, how you manipulate those pieces to then manipulate what's happening on the board. And man alive, it plays like no other abstract I have ever seen.
I keep trying to think of like something to say about it, but I still am wowed, thinking about how, and like this was another one that we didn't have to do much for at all.
No,
like Sawyer just provided a complete amazing game.
He sure did. And the figures, when we're looking at it, like, these are like 3-inch high figures that we are going to be producing. And I think we're going to be do like a color wash on them to give them a little depth and interest as well. This game is just going to look stunning. Now, most of the pieces you see in this little picture, they are not actual, they're not final. But the king and the assassin over here in this corner, those are some of the sculpts that we're actually working on for this game. So we expect our pieces to look very much like that. Now, we still have to put it through.
Test them
to make sure they release from the mold. What kind of changes do we need to make? But these are some of the initial designs that we are working with. And man, when this hits the table, like, what? Not only does it look amazing on the table, but when the pieces are this big, it feels like a game of kings. When you move this piece, there's gravitas to dropping this on the table.
We had a conversation about that. I said that I want to make sure this game feels like people were playing it 1,000 years ago.
Yeah. Or at least the fact that every time you move a piece, there's importance. Like, boom, it hits the table. You're like, oh no, what's that?
Do you remember what happened? Like, when I first played it, do you remember doing that? This was at Unpub.
Yep.
And it was, I don't actually think it was that late. It was probably like 7 p.m. But I was exhausted because
because we were up till all hours the night before.
Yeah, I can't keep up with Curt's hours. And Curt was like, I just want to show you something. I want to get your perspective on a game real quick. And I dragged my sleepy keister over and sat down.
Well, I knew what he was in for.
And I played 2 or 3 games of this back to back, and I was wired. I was awake, I was engaged, my mind was racing, and I was like, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
And my friends, our playtesting group, are begging me for the release of this game. They want to play it so badly.
Yeah.
So
this I think is going to be a big piece of excitement come Gen Con. It is not going to be crowdfunded. We're going to go right to retail with it. So, how fast does it play, Dave? Well, I think most games are about 20 to 30 minutes. Is that?
Yeah, it all depends. So there's a deduction aspect. So if you get a good read or a good guess, or possibly even get lucky, I mean, you could wrap the game in 5 to 10 minutes. I've seen games where we get down to the last few pieces and it's this like battle of the minds for another 5-10 minutes. So my guess is probably 20 to 30 minutes feels right for an average game, with the chance to go above or below.
Yeah, I would say usually not below, unless it's your first time and you didn't protect your piece well, and someone blunders into it without knowing it. They're capturing you.
I guess it's fair, yeah.
Yeah. But I haven't seen it go much longer than that, just because like there's this one rule where as soon as the fourth piece is eliminated, if you don't win eliminating the fourth piece, you lose. And so there's a hard stop. So you can kind of jockey around, but eventually someone's going to say, I'm going to take this piece now, or they're going to capture the center or do something else. So yeah, it's pretty solid on 20 to 30. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This is, man, I mean, Boop is amazing. And all the iterations of Boop, quite honestly. So I was not necessarily, revved up to come and do another abstract. That's not typically what we have traditionally done. But this one was just another stellar game. Yeah.
The deduction puts it into its unique place. So it doesn't really,
Yeah, it really doesn't feel like anything else. So, man, well, all right, we've chewed up like a good hour plus, and thank you all so much for like hanging out with us and listening to us ramble on a bit about our stuff. But to be fair, we are super excited by all the stuff we've got coming, and we didn't cover it all yet.
I know.
there's more stuff even for next year's release that we didn't even touch on.
Let alone the fact that we, for people who don't know, Curt and I have to work over a year ahead of time for a lot of these projects. That doesn't even count the stuff that
and this year we had to work harder than ever because some of the larger chain stores said no, we need our stuff done 6 months early. So we're like, I guess we better get to work.
So between basically getting all of 2025 locked in and even working on stuff that's coming 2026, like we've had so many projects we're just so thrilled about, and it's nice to be able to talk a bit about them as we get a little bit closer to bringing them into the limelight.
Oh, well, thanks, Dave. Dave said it's not traditional, but when you guys do it, you do it well. Well, and again, we can't even take a lot of credit for this one. This is all Sawyer and his brainchild making this special. In fact, quite honestly, even the fact that he had these kind of ginormous figures and this really cool looking board, like the stained glass, we kind of brought to it, but basically the game was pretty locked as we saw it. So credit where credit's due. This is Sawyer's baby.
Oh yeah.
But so we do have lots more to talk about. And again, we are going to be trying to do this very regularly now, once a month. So it'll be on Wednesdays. That's our goal. Probably around mid-month if all goes well. So you can look forward to seeing us haunt your socials again.
Yeah.
And speaking of haunt, have a great Halloween, everyone. I hope you guys have lots of fun things lined up. I've got no parties this year, but I'm actually going to go see the Botanical Garden with Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas.
Steph went to that last weekend.
Did you? Yeah. Well, so I'm going to go on tomorrow.
But apparently phenomenal. So we look forward to that.
Yeah. So in any case, happy Halloween and have a great week. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.
See ya. Oh, the outro.